marketing is asking someone out on a date, and branding is the reason why they say yes. So, brand management today is these experts in branding, say like Kevin Lane Keller or David Ecker for that matter, they all agree on one thing, that brands are built at the junction of or intersection of consumer insight, storytelling, and business impact. So where should you start was your question, correct? So close to the consumer is where you start, close to the data is where you start. So digital marketing, content, performance, research, social analytics, these are your real entry points, I would say, because brands today aren't built in boardrooms. I'm sure you'll agree with me. They're built on dashboards and in comment section. Like social media comments also, so that is where the brands also get a lot of data from. So if you can interpret and crack what consumers are saying, turn that into insight and shape it into a narrative, you're already doing brand management. So that too, even without a fancy title. So in a nutshell, here's the simplest way to think about it. Marketing gets you noticed, brand evokes a recall and makes you unforgettable.
Amazing, such a practical piece of information. Marketing students, if you are listening to this was one amazing advice. Going forward, Tripti ma'am, I'm really curious, about knowing, some common misconceptions students have about careers in branding.
Now, I would say that students often think branding equals being a brand manager, like I mentioned earlier.
Right.
But the branding ecosystem is far, far dense, rich, and intense. So, there are roles in consumer insights, digital strategy, content and storytelling, design, activations. Then there's something like influencer, community management, and even brand analytics. So, you don't switch your stack. If you are in sales, you understand the ground reality, objections, and consumer behavior. There is something called as content. You understand storytelling and voice. In content also there are multiple formats, like say UGC or user generated content, visual content, which includes infographics, quotes, community building, content blogs, vlogs, podcasts, influencer and creator collaborations. And digital marketing also is an important part of branding, where you understand data, funnels, and performance. So the move to brand management happens when you start connecting all these dots which we just spoke about. So from execution you move on to insights, from tasks you move on to strategy, and from channels you get on to the consumer journey. So even if you consider huge organizations like Hindustan Unilever, for instance, many brand leaders there have rotated across sales, trade marketing, various category roles. Maybe if you consider huge organizations like Hindustan Unilever, for instance, many brand leaders there have rotated across sales, trade
Mhm.
marketing, category roles before leading brands. So while most students aim for that brand manager tag, the branding ecosystem is actually very, very complex. It's a complex mechanism with several specialized roles that operate behind the scenes. So if you want to know, many students overlook these specialized parts that are often higher impact than general management. So I would like to share some of the interesting profile that you might get and that you might get to work on when you apply in the branding domain. So one, you need to be a brand strategist. Now, how do you describe this? A brand strategist is like an architect who does a deep research. They don't design. They're not like designers who design logos, but they craft the brand's positioning. They define the target audience, and then they also create the long-term roadmap. Second important thing would be a brand copywriter. There is also a role called as a brand copywriter, the one who creates a verbal identity. So, unlike general content writer, these professionals craft the brand's personality through words, verbally naming conventions. They take care of the tone of voice, and also there's something called, like we have keywords, there's something called as the brand dictionary. So they have to address that as well. And then you must have seen companies like this Infosys and all, which are also into employee branding. Employee and employer branding is also an important concept in branding. So if there is an employer brand specialist, the person treats employees as the customers. Their task or their job is to make the company an attractive place to work, and this is crucial for tech and service led firms. Then other interesting ones which are slowly and gradually coming up are sensory branding expert. So these are common in the luxury, hospitality, and retail sector. They focus on the unseen brand. What does the store smell like? What does the click of a car door sound? So it's a very, very interesting role to be in. Then very popular ones, which even companies like OnePlus and all these companies, Nestle, OnePlus, all of them, they have is a brand activation specialist. So during IPL, you see a lot of brand activation. So this brand activation specialist essentially is the bridge between a brand strategy and its lived experience in the market. Now, instead of just shaping identity on paper, they bring it alive through campaigns, through event partnerships, and say consumer touch point. So now, if you move into core brand management, so you move from a tactical role, say sales content, to a more long-term one or a strategic one. That is which is core brand management. Now, this requires a shift from how do I execute this to why am I doing this, or why am I executing this. So from sales, you have an edge where you know the customer's pain point better than anyone. Then there's something like there's a transition into trade marketing role first, which acts as the bridge between sales and brand. Then from content creative, you take the
Mhm.
narrative pivot. Okay, so you should learn to speak the brand language. You should learn to connect the dot. You should learn to tell stories. Digital marketing, you need to understand what the bigger picture is. So you are like that data wizard. So digital marketing is often focused on transaction. That is, it's a click business. You click something and then
Right.
so I call it the click. So to move into branding, you show how digital metrics, like say sentiment analysis, for instance, or share of voice, they impact brand equity. So, and brand auditing also is very, very crucial. Even in the digital era, I would say that the fastest way to get noticed by the brand team, regardless of your current role, is to perform a brand audit. So, brand audit is something like where the brand is inconsistent, and then you propose a unified solution. So, so you have an eye for the bigger picture. So that is what.
My goodness. Trupti, that was such a detailed answer. Trupti, let's move forward, something into evolution of branding. So my next question to you is how has branding shifted from traditional, like, TV, print, or billboards to digital first ecosystems?
Okay, this is one question which I always find interesting because it requires a lot of. It has been a very, very deeply researched subject. So if you look at the traditional era, branding was more of a top down process. It was very static, and I would say it was more of a top down process, and something like in a branding terminology or in the integrated marketing communication parlance, we call it above the line communication, or ATL.
ATL.
So this above the line communication dominated where companies pushed a single refined message through expensive mass reach channels. Now branding since has moved from broadcast to conversation. So earlier brands spoke at consumers through these television, print, billboards, but today's digital first ecosystem is dynamic and fragmented. So brands now live through social media interactions, through your influencer partnerships and personalized data, requiring them to be agile, responsive, and always on to maintain a presence across multiple devices and platforms. Say, let us think of say a lifestyle brand like Nike. Earlier, it was iconic. The TVCs of Nike or the television commercials, all of them were very iconic. But today, it's still storytelling. But now, it lives across Instagram, the athletes' voices, and the culture in real time. So, I would like to put this across by highlighting that today, brands grow with the consumers through reels. Through comments, social comments as in social media comments, communities, and algorithms. So, no matter the stage, whether it's Google, whether it's Amazon, Apple, or Netflix, great brands are those that stay relevant by interacting with the consumers daily. They play a very meaningful role in the lives of the consumers, and they are continuously evolving with the times. So, the shift is not just media, it is the mindset. So, we are moving from control to co creation, from campaigns to a continuous presence. And did you also ask me what has not changed? I guess
Yes,
that is
what
also
has not changed in branding despite all the technological disruption?
okay. So what has not changed is the human core, and that will never change. I think the tangibility and the emotions that human beings bring to the table is something which is irreplaceable. So, despite the technological disruption, the fundamental psychology of trust remains constant. So, the core of branding is still trust and emotional connection. So, no matter the platform, at its heart, brand and branding is still about the promise. A brand must still deliver on what it claims to be. For instance, if I take an example of, say, Blinkit. Blinkit promises instant convenience, and it lives up to in a way it lives up to its claims as well. It's not just grocery delivery. It's whatever you need is delivered in minutes, and they live up to their promises, what I personally feel. Second important thing is the purpose. A brand must stand for something. Say, for instance, if it is DJ Yatra, DJ Yatra's tech trust positioning is something, is a stand which they have taken. Then there is something called as the emotional connection or emotional connect. So people still buy based on how a brand makes them feel, not just what it does. No, so functionally a brand does a lot of things, but then it's the emotional connect or the feel or the sentiment that work over time. And the most important thing I would believe is consistency. A brand that changes its soul every time a new app trends will fail. So you need not chase trends. The need for a stable, recognizable identity is always crucial now than ever before. So,
Correct.
if you take an example of, say, brand Amul,
Mm-hmm.
on print hoardings, they're very popular. The hoardings of Amul are very, very popular. So, from these print hoardings a decade ago to social media posts today, the medium has evolved, but the core hasn't. So, Amul continues to be that topical, witty commentary, which reflects a lot of cultural relevance, which has a consistent brand voice as well. So, platforms may have changed, formats have evolved, technology is also evolving, but the job of branding hasn't, and that is make people feel something and give them that reason to stay with the brand.
Wow, such an in-depth answer. Triptiji, moving forward, let's talk about textbooks. Beyond textbooks, what core skills differentiate a great brand professional today?
Okay, I love this question. Beyond textbooks, the real differentiators, I would say, are threefold. So, first, most important today is consumer empathy, storytelling, and data fluency, of course. A great brand professional can listen to the market, translate insights into narratives, and then measure impact. Data and analytics versus creativity isn't an either or.
Mhm.
It's not something like either data or creativity. It's always an integral part, and it's a collaboration today. So, analytics tells you what's happening, creativity tells you why it matters.
Correct.
So, the strongest brand managers today are bilingual, or maybe I'll say that they are multilingual. And bilingual because we are talking about data analytics and creativity. So, today they are bilingual in both, and they are able to read not just the dashboards and numbers, but also craft stories that stick. Okay, so a great brand professional today isn't just a creative or a numbers person. So beyond textbooks, three skills really differentiate great brand professionals, and I would say that a good brand professional is somebody who's a hybrid thinker, and he must master these four or five areas. Number one is the insight gathering. So it's not just about listening, but it's also about decoding and breaking it up. So seeing patterns in chaos, spotting what the customer really means. Second important thing should be the narrative, or the story or the narrative shaping. Now whatever insight that you gather, that insight has to be translated into a narrative which people feel for, they remember, and they are also able to share it. So, say for instance, look at brands like Dettol, brands like Asian Paints. They have beautifully narrated their brand stories. Third important aspect, according to me, should be cultural intelligence. We have spoken enough about emotional quotient and emotional intelligence, but cultural intelligence is very important so far as brands are concerned. So, if we call it a cultural quotient. So, textbooks, they can't teach you how to read the room. Great branding, if you look at it, it requires an intuitive understanding of what cultural shifts are there, the various social movements that are on, and even the memes. So you need to know when a brand should speak up and when it should actually remain silent or keep quiet. So if I can take an example, I would take that of Tanishq. I'm sure you must have seen most of
Yes.
their commercials. They're just amazing. And I think Tanishq is the one brand which is a lesson in high stakes in cultural quotient. So, if you have seen those commercials, you realize that the branding often tries to push progressive narratives in a traditional industry, which is jewelry. And Zomato's push notifications also, which is Zomato's a very contemporary brand. So Zomato's push notifications are legendary because they feel like a text. Maybe your friend has sent you a very witty text message. They use English, they use local slang, they use Gen Z slang, and they also leverage a lot of pop culture references, like that Binod meme or cricket fever, which became very popular, and to cut through that digital noise. The other example I would like to quote here is that of Tata Tea, the very popular Jago Re campaign. I'm sure you must have seen that as well.
Right.
So, if you see that campaign, you will realize that they didn't just sell tea. They tapped into cultural movements around, say, civic awareness
Mhm.
and civic consciousness and social responsibility. So the insight was very simple, but nevertheless it was powerful. That Indians, we wake up as Indians, we wake up every morning, but we don't always wake up as citizens and understand our responsibility. So that was the message that they were trying to drive through that particular campaign. So the brand chose to take a stand and to speak up on issues like, say, voting,
Mhm.
corruption, social issues, and it felt really authentic and opportunistic. It
Great.
was not opportunistic, sorry.
Okay.
So, yeah, one more point which I probably forgot to talk about is strategic empathy, because empathy has become an important aspect of branding today. So, strategic empathy also is extremely, extremely vital. Now, this goes beyond knowing your audience. So, we are familiar with the concept of KYC, know your customer. So, beyond knowing your customer, beyond knowing your audience, it's the ability to map the emotional journey of the customer. Very important. And then also identify those precise moments where they actually find a gap, feel a friction, feel frustrations, or they feel happiness or delight. So it's about solving human problems. That is why we call it strategic empathy. It's about solving human problems and not just selling features. So here I would like to take the example of Swiggy. No, they didn't just understand the people order food; they mapped the emotional journey around it. So, what were the biggest friction point of a customer who's hungry? Where is my order? So, anxiety after placing that order. There's a lot of anxiety after you have placed your order. That where is my order? So, what did they do? They started something called as real-time order tracking. They started live updates. Your food is being prepared. Your delivery boy is out. Your delivery boy is this close to your place now. So so they'll continuously also focus on the delivery partner visibility. Even Zomato does that. So
Right.
because all these things are being done, they didn't add extra features to do that, but they definitely did reduce the consumer anxiety.
Right.
So that's what is strategic empathy, identifying the exact moment of say uncertainty and designing the experience to solve for it. If I am allowed to, I would also
Yes.
like
Yes.
to add one example, and that is of Ariel, Procter and Gamble, which handled the Share the Load campaign in India. Now, instead of focusing on the features of the detergent like stain removal, whitening, fragrance, and all of that, they looked at the emotional friction within Indian households. The fact that laundry is almost exclusively seen as a woman's job, leading to exhaustion and silent resentment. So, strategic empathy breakdown, since this is a very important aspect for branding, I'm going to take a little more time on that.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Yes.
strategic empathy, if you want to break it down, the major points are the friction point, like we saw in case of Ariel and Swiggy, the emotional insight, and the pivot from feature to solutions. Right. So, and then the last 2 points which I would like to focus here would be business thinking. So, understanding that branding is not an art for just for the art's sake, but it must move metrics. It must move markets and it must also move mindsets. So look at brands like, say, for instance, Zomato. Their tone, their timing, and relevance comes from their sharp insight and also their sharp execution. McD or McDonald's, for instance, they turned criticism into creation recently, launching the Big Yummy Cheese and Chicken Burger, which was based on consumer insights. And then, of course, last but not the least, it has to be AI updation, AI orchestration, or you ought to be AI orchestrated. So in 2026 or in the upcoming years, or in 2026 and beyond, you just don't need to be an expert prompt engineer, but you must know how to use AI, to scale your brand's voice without losing its soul. So you are the kind of, I would say that in an orchestra there is a conductor, music conductor. So you're like that conductor, and AI is that full-fledged symphony or orchestra. So maybe if
Trupti ma'am, moving forward, let's talk about branding roles and career paths. What are the different roles within branding that students often don't know about?
Okay, I think we have already dealt with this question earlier, but again, I would like to just
Yes.
talk about how students think that branding equals a brand manager, and they do not realize that the ecosystem is far more deeper, far more richer, and it's much more intense. So there are roles in, like I've already mentioned earlier, digital strategy, say content, say storytelling, say design, say activation, gamification, influencers, community management, and even brand analytics. So you need not switch your current stack which you have, but you have to keep on updating yourself and adding certain interesting aspects. So like we've already spoken earlier, it's from execution to insight that you move, from task to strategy, from channels to consumer journey.
Let's talk about industry reality check. What does a typical day in a brand role actually look like, versus what people imagine?
Okay. So, what does a typical day in branding actually look like? What an interesting question.
Mm.
It's actually not what people imagine. So, unlike popular perception, it's not a constant, brainstorming and big campaign shoots. Brand guys have a perception of being cool dudes.
Okay.
People feel that brand guys are cool dudes. That's correct. That is their persona. But a real day, if you want to understand, it looks like, say, a typical day in a brand role. It's not just about brainstorming cool ads. It's like juggling meetings with agencies, tracking campaign metrics, reviving consumer feedbacks, then aligning with sales or maybe your product teams or other cross-functional teams. Now, the biggest challenge young professionals face is the
Ah,
gap between imagination and execution.
okay.
Tight budgets, stressed deadlines. Then there is something called as creative bankruptcy. At times, it so happens that you get stuck up on a creative idea. You're not able to, move beyond a certain point. And then there is also in today's brand role, there is a lot of data overload and stress deadlines and the constant pressure to prove
Correct.
your ROI.
Mm.
So it's less about a typical day, as you mentioned, is less about glossy presentations. It's more about spreadsheets, stakeholder calls, and delivering consistency. So most people also quite often imagine a brand role involves sitting in a very nice plush AC glass walled room, choosing vibes and picking colors and dealing with glamorous faces and glamorous brands and products. The reality is much more different, and it's about alignment and logistics. So it's not only about glossy presentations, it's more about managing details and delivering consistency. So as a person, you're not just being creative, you're acting as the brand's, I would say, you're acting as the brand's defense, the custodian, the guardian. So you might spend 2 hours in a cross-functional meeting, ensuring that maybe a new product that you have or the new product launch that you have at hand, it aligns with the brand's promise. Then you have to deal with packaging, which also is a part of the operations. Then the price point also has to be carefully dealt with. That is the finance part. And of course, the launch emails and all that, that goes to different stakeholders. So that is the digital part. So all feel like the same brand. Now, the reality is you are not just shaping ads, you
Mm.
are kind of protecting, safeguarding, defending your identity across every touch point. So brand roles look like crazy madmen on the outside, but they feel like Excel sheets on the inside.
Yes, yes. Trupti ma'am, let's come to technology and the future. My question to you is very specific. How is AI, consumer data, and algorithms changing brand building currently?
Okay, so to respond to this question, now there used to be something which was very traditional earlier, the traditional one size fits all.
Hmm.
That message or that brand approach is now dead. Now, in its place, we have the one brand multiverse.
Oh.
So AI, consumer data, and algorithms are reshaping brand building by making personalization scalable. So dashboards now tell us not just what consumers buy, but when they are not ready to buy, when do they hesitate to buy, what they scroll past, and what actually delights them. So the challenge is turning that data into empathy-driven narratives rather than just matrices or metrics. So they are shifting branding from, or other branding is shifting from being intuition led to intelligence led or insight led. So AI and algorithms now shape what consumers see, when they see it, and how frequently or how often they see it.
Yes.
Therefore, in my opinion, brands are no longer just competing on creativity, they're competing on relevance at scale. So think of an example, if I can think of right now, is that of Netflix. The brand experience itself is algorithm driven. So say for instance, say two users are trying to log into Netflix. So say you and me are trying to log into Netflix, so these two users don't see the same homepage. So that's branding becoming personalized, dynamic, and real time. So that's thanks to the algos. And yes, personal branding also is rapidly rising. In a world where founders, influencers, and even employees are brand ambassadors, today people trust people more than logos. Now, if I can substantiate this, you must have seen a lot of podcasts by
Mhm.
Nikhil Kamath, Deepinder Goyal, or Kunal Shah. They are their own independent podcast which they have launched. It's their
Mhm.
own personal voice, opinions, and their
Mhm.
presence amplifies the brands they are associated with. So
Right.
your LinkedIn profile, your Instagram voice can also carry as much weight as a corporate campaign. So the
Mhm.
future, I would say, is hybrid. Corporate brands set the stage, personal brands bring the human connection. So precisely, personal branding is very important today, and it is like your digital footprint, your point of view and perspective, and your consistency over time. So it's no longer optional; it's a career asset.
You were hiring for a brand role, what would make a candidate instantly stand out? And let me ask one more question, attached to this only. What kind of project or portfolio should students build to prove their capability?
Okay, the first thing that I'll assure you that is that. Can you ask this again?
If you are hiring for a brand role, what would make a candidate instantly stand out? And then again, going forward, what kind of project portfolio should students build to prove their capability?
Hmm. Okay. So one thing that really pisses me off is the use of fancy jargons. So one thing that students need to avoid is not too many fancy jargons, bombastic words. And so those who come to me with a very glossy perception is not something I would prefer. So there has to be a clarity of thought. That is what I will bet on. So I'd look for someone who can, break down the brand problem, bring sharp consumer insights to the table, and also suggest simple, actionable, executable idea. And also points of view and perspectives are very, very important. So students or candidates who have opinions on brands should be able to discuss at length about different brands like say a Zomato, a Blinkit, a Nykaa, Seat Tires, Asian Paints. So what's working, what's not, and these are the kind of students who stand out instantly. And the kind of portfolio the student should build. So it should not be only whenever I see the resumes or the CVs of students, I see that they just talk about generic internships. So it should not be about generic internships. In fact, students should talk about proof of thinking, in the sense that it's like proof of thinking, or maybe proof of community ownership. So what makes a candidate stand out is the evidence of that particular impact that is bringing to the table with the kind of executable insights that he brings on. And it's not just intent. So belonging overreach, because in branding, proof beats promise. So if a student, I would say, a strong portfolio should include brand audits. So the student should be able to decipher or understand what's the gap in the market, what are the opportunities. So in order to do this, they should be well versed with Archer and Kefero's brand identity prism, or Keller's brand equity framework, the BAV model, and all that. So this will help them in measuring the brand, understanding what are the gaps and opportunities. And yeah, the other important thing should be in the portfolio should be campaign breakdowns. How do you break down campaign? Why did a particular campaign work? Why did a particular campaign fail? And one interesting thing they should have in the is data back creativity. So
Mm.
data back creativity, if I can explain, is the ability to explain a creative choice using specific performance metrics rather than just go by vibes. And yeah, live projects, and most of the students are fond of it. But when it comes to campus live projects, students only mention those projects which they have done during a particular subject as a part of their component or assignment. But I think the portfolio should go beyond classroom projects. Now think of all the live campaigns. Think of certain social media experiments which they may have done, some content calendars or case studies where they may have tracked engagement and outcomes. And yeah, consumer insight studies, as already mentioned, is very, very important. So the student should make it a point to be proactive and actually talk to real users. So it's not that just Google out certain things or go to Chat GPT every now and then, or Gemini and Copilot. So show me that you've decoded consumer behavior, turned it into an insight, and built a narrative that moved the needle. So anything that shows you understand your consumers, you can connect the dots, tell a story, and you can turn insight into action is very, very important. So in fact, I think I'm giving you a quick 3D mantra and a formula. Now it proves that you can move forward from insight to execution to impact. We've seen during the course of our interaction, and that is exactly what makes a candidate stand out in branding. So the 3D mantra I'm talking about is: number one, decode. So decoders show how you listen to your consumers, maybe some surveys, maybe some social media comments which you may have analyzed, some trend analysis that you may have done. Second important D is design. So now the insight that you have gathered. So those insights, you have to translate those insights into creative campaigns. Are you able to do that? Your content calendars are in place, and also your brand narratives. So the third important D is deliver. So you prove the impact with metrics, the engagement rates, conversions, or even qualitative feedback should work. So in order to stand out in 2026 and beyond, or going forward, a candidate must demonstrate sure, and that is for sure. He or she must have this, and that is algorithm fluency, which is the ability to blend creative storytelling with technical data science. Now, I'd look for someone who doesn't just say post content. That to anybody can do. It's not about just posting content, but understand how to manipulate engagement loops and sentiment analysis to move the needle and create a real impact.
Amazing, amazing. Triptiji, one final piece of advice for students choosing branding as their career today. So what's your take on that?
Okay, so one piece of advice, if you would ask me, would be you need to treat branding as a craft of empathy and impact rather than looking at it as something very glossy. And so you need to learn to listen to consumers, translate insights into stories. So start working towards becoming a good listener and a good storyteller, and also prove business results. So that combination will keep you relevant no matter how much technology evolves. So I would also suggest that don't chase roles. Say, I want to be a brand manager and a vice president and all of that. Don't chase roles. Chase understanding. Don't just go by trends because I believe that trends fade. They fade. Insights are the ones that stay back. So build your career on what lasts. So obsess over how consumers think, why they choose a certain brand, what makes them stay. And the more you understand people, I think the faster you grow in branding. And I also, would like to talk about one mistake they essentially need to avoid. Other than, of course, giving them a piece of advice and the do's, one mistake they need to avoid is don't confuse activity with impact. Never do that. Posting more, doing more campaigns, being busy, that doesn't mean you're building a brand. If it's not creating any kind of positive recall, relevance, or resonance, it's just adding to the noise.
Hmm.
So, one mistake to avoid is chasing glamour over the groundwork. Don't expect to start as a brand manager. First, you build your credibility through, say, sales, digital, or consumer insight roles. Because brands, I firmly believe, I am convinced that brands are built around people, not just in campaigns.
Correct. Correct. Trupti ma'am, moving forward, but before we close, let's move to a quick rapid fire, short questions, sharp answers, pure career wisdom for students and job seekers. My first rapid fire question goes to you right now. One branding skill every student must learn in 2026.
Gathering consumer insights.
Great. Creativity or analytics? Pick one for career success.
I've already said that it's a blend of the two.
Yes. MBA in marketing or real world experience? What wins today?
I think it has to be a combination of both. You
Yes.
learn from the textbook, but you also should be able to apply concepts.
Yes. One mistake freshers make while applying for marketing jobs.
The same thing. This also I've already mentioned that just don't start on the topmost rung of the ladder, thinking that I'll be a brand manager one day. First,
Mhm.
start at the ground level.
Traditional branding or digital branding, which is tougher?
I think traditional branding is tougher. Digital branding is much more process oriented, so it's
Right.
comparatively not
Yes.
easier, but it's smooth.
Okay. If you had to start your career again today, which role would you choose first?
Which role, as in brands in market, what would you? I would
Any.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I would like to choose the creative side in an advertising agency.
Okay. Okay. One brand in India doing brilliant marketing right now.
Right now, of course, it has to be one Indian brand. If you want to talk about it, has to be Zomato. There's Asian Paints is doing well, and internationally, of course, Nike.
Yes. AI will replace marketeers or empower marketeers.
I think AI will empower marketers if they are properly able to leverage it.
Okay, my last rapid fire question goes to you right now. If a student has only 30 days to become a job ready for branding, what should they do?
Understand the market clearly and understand the difference between marketing and branding. So once that clarity is there, they know the direction that they need to follow. Yeah.
Okay, Trupti madam, this was such an insightful, practical, and full of clarity for anyone trying to build a future in marketing and branding. Viewers, if you are watching this and serious about your career, don't keep this episode to yourself. Please share it with your friends, classmates, or job seekers who needs direction right now. And if career conversations like this help you think sharper and move faster, you already know where to find more of them. This is Let's Hear It From. I'll see you in the next episode. Till then, stay connected. You